Yeah, you know what that means. Fuck. Oh, holy shit. Woo! All right. What do we got here? Let's start some music. We gotta go list, we gotta list 50 per page, because, yeah, I can't deal with that many. Okay. Get requests do not work after HT access is enabled. So while our facets, how do I make them count products, not product varieties? How to get the key value of a JSON object matching another given value. How to get access underlying POJO from GWT editor class. How to create an algorithm from log Euclidean in Python. How to pre-select a state in Rails, Carmen state select. Shape designer program help having trouble with both approaches in this GUI program. How to make a drop down in the top menu appear without a delay in the animation. MySQL replace // in strings. XTS-JS4 how to auto scale an image without clipping. Cannot add buttons to a table in a toolbar. Android implementing an image slider in a Sports Center app. Read a span of a web page in the VB.NET app. Grid canvas, last cell size are not the same of others. Using get elements by tag name from xml.dom.min domain. That doesn't even make any sense. iPhone, I need to add a background music to a main view of my application. iOS, it's impossible to set animated icon as a UIT controller icon. Accelerator Android tutorial ebook how to convert day, month, year into .NET style 100 NS tickets since January 1st, 00001. Communication between Racket program and Python 2. What is the advantage of using div elements over TD elements for a calendar? Well, that's fucking obvious. Use CSS style, you fucking bitch. Amateur with arrays. Rails 3.2.2 jQuery mobile. Method delete not working. Fuck jQuery. How can something every time a certain element in a view using jQuery? Ah, goddamn, another jQuery. An algorithm where the final output is randomly selected between Y and X, but the chances of getting something high are lower. Mobile Safari not accepting HTML5 meter input value. Java uses too much memory. CouchDB on a virtual server. How do programs communicate? Microkernel, monolithic kernel, exokernel. C#, XNA, HLSL. Need a formula for depth of field. You're a retard. Command system of RTS game. Produce the same form but number elements in the same page. Broadcast admin message to each session user. Call MATLAB from NetBeans using MATLAB control. From hard-coded to user selectable variable value. Cucumber fails with uninitialized constant factory. Syntax, name error. How to use uploaded images and files handled for their viewing in a multi-viewer web application. SQL Alchemy, unique across multiple columns. Android repeating task does not work. Track the last viewed items of visitors. Problems with cloning the data vector of a default table model. MySQL admin fails to script but works in the shell. ASP.NET Web API put with catch all route. Pass user session across activities. Cookie deletion. Can someone help me rectify the code below? How to calculate the UDP transfer rate, KBPS and C#, globalize 3, MySQL error, unknown database when running RIC, DBC task. Well, it's probably an unknown database. Dynamically load a PHP.load, not working with jQuery already on the page. Well, it's because you're fucking using jQuery. Learn JavaScript, bitch. Git repositories, unable to find error. Construct and render backbone. View with respect elements clicked. Okay, next page. MySQL admin fails in script but works in shell. ASP.NET Web API put with catch all route. Pass user sessions across activities. Cookies deletion. Can someone help to rectify the code below? Didn't I just read that? How to calculate the UDP transfer rate, KBPS and C#. Oh man, it's the newest feed, so they're just repeating. Okay, next page, page 3. Sporadic timeouts on HTTP connection. In my application I use to connect to HTTP to my server. I am synchronized to local database. Here's the code. HTTP client new default HTTP client. Apple Match O-Link, ID error, reachability. What is the most efficient approaches to advanced search sort database? MySQL information. Send mail logging error to HTTP. Error log, loading a pickle file. fuck? How can I create a file on the fly in PHP and download it? Rails Association for Public Database Source, SSH.net performing automated tasks, how to handle missing rows and independent tables. Text area won't process consume key event. Kinetic.js not working with UI web view. How to pass a lambda expression as a method parameter within EF. Firefox and Chrome positioning in Windows works, Mac doesn't. Positioning Android SDK, boosting feed through feed dialog by defining predefined content. Create a jar from a mypub SDK. Get blue screen with a warning that a boot later may not be properly configured. Workaround that doesn't really belong on Stack Overflow. That should be on super user. Alright, I know I said I was going to do the newest questions, but they're pretty lame. I think the votes of answered questions might be a little more appropriate for this audience. Oh man, I remember seeing this one a few weeks ago. It's been a while. Alright, before I drop this. Alright. Never mind. How to properly document S4 class slots using Roxygen 2. Team City loads custom plugin, but there's no evidence that the plugin code runs. Is there a free way to programmatically tell if a particular block of memory was freed by fast FFMM? Sorry. Is there a way to programmatically tell if a particular block of memory was not freed by fast MM? Emacs Ruby autocomplete almost working. Impredictive types versus plain old subtyping. Error and preview of code custom Eclipse refactoring. Android layout examples that match metrics and grids recommendations. Android in-app billing feature says you already have a pending order for this item. Lazy loading with Doctrine 2, Symfony 2 using DQL. Sometimes GTK model dialogues are not modal. Bugger feature. How to make annotation like highlighting, strike through, underline, draw, add text, etc. in Android for PDF viewer. How do I integrate Pertiv feeds, browser plugin, vulnerability scanner into my website, app engine, intermittent 5 errors on/off, open ID verify. How to verify the use of properly open HSSL API to implement CLS server. How do you create a tray icon with FireMonkey? How can I get Aptana's code assistant to go with Google Eyes MIP API 3? Core data background fetching via NS private queue concurrency type. Node.js and NPM has no network access in Windows 7 64-bit Ultimate. How to match multiple independent modules with SP2 IntelliJ idea. Ping pong with Haskell and Thrift gets stuck. How can I modify the code generated by class completion? Control-Shift-C. R, specify monospace font in menu. Controlling the output with R, Apache output errors. RPC error with geocoder. Android views overlaid. In the last frame of full screen video doesn't redraw properly when turning the screen on and off. Java web start and URL connection caching API. Can you pass Wi-Fi settings from iOS device to an external accessory object? Android draw table, layer list, repeat bitmap does not load when entirely covered. How to pass requirements claims to OpenID identity provider with Azure ACS. ZZMoto action bar, bkg.xml, resource error on Droid. How to compile a single file in Xcode 4. Android homescode widget animations. How to properly connect an Android application to an RF comm socket on a Bluetooth enabled Arduino microcontroller. WPF document viewer, get iText pointer and glyph run vice versa. How do I turn the system volume overlay back on using MP volume compute? System R fails under high load, C code loop performance continued. Offline data synchronization design, JavaScript, raw floating point encoding. Safely creating S3 generics in R, binding JSON to nested Grails, domain objects, workaround for history animation in Safari OS X Lion. Pi audio I/O error. Default input audio device available. Doctrine class inheritance when on a subclass has no extra attributes. Mapping a height map grid to a base contour format. Creating a blind GUI from XSD file automatically in Eclipse RCP app. With WCF routing with message security. ADO.NET entity framework with OLLDB access. Weird overlay draw behavior when zooming in the map view. NDK stack not working. How to use Shiro for authenticating cookie based on Facebook user. PostGRE SQL server does not shut down on Lion Mac OS 10.7. Click once on interactive main window, adding widgets to launcher page without blind app widget ID. Well, my build is failing in VS 2010, solution in TFS 2008. translate Haskell, parsec grammar to Scala, Python shell and Emacs 24, JBoss 7.0.1 running without JSON ID. The URL is not working. Create a plugin, expose events. Is there any efficient way to dramatically change the compass matrix and boost? Develop alarm application, H-base rest filter, single column value filter, locate Bluetooth inbox, MS deploy, triggers 401, access denied error when trying to sync a site, deploying IIS settings when in web deploy, play YouTube HTML5 embedded video in Android web view, replication framework for mono. What is the new field like? New count. Chrome freezes when playing videos from Rackspace cloud files. IE9 error 800200102 using VB script preserve keyword with doc type strict. iOS Facebook status location chromatically add iPhone Android calendar with PhoneGap jQuery mobile. Can Haskell implement OSGI? Is the following template specialization code non-standard or a bug in VS C++? Which version are you using? 2008, 2010? You gotta stay there. Shit. Android, why is there no max height for view? PHP and Mongo, find one, causes memory exhaustion. Posting to a Facebook page as the page. Not a person? What the fuck? Why GMF is not working on audio streaming with MJISP? What is the best SOAP library for Python 3x? Change the icon on Windows 7 taskbar for a pinned application. Print dialogue with landscape and portrait pages. QDoc widget, draggable tabs. Key Facebook insights, metrics deprecated, alternatives not documented. Identifying the dependency relationship for Python packages installed with JPIP. Syncing existing core data with iCloud. How can I get WebKit column count in the current page on column ID? Custom home icon and action bar Sherlock. How can you avoid and hibernate in +1 composite key? Correcting handling of reload and restart from the applet viewer. Getting an embedded Python runtime to use the current active virtual environment. Test after build, option in Xcode 4 not working, unaccepted in JSON.NET, token property name and start would not result in an invalid JavaScript object. Well, you've got bigger problems. Importing NetBeans, keywrap to Eclipse, memory map file, STD allocator, implementation freezes in WM6 device, Apple script copy folders in Xcode, how to define global AJAX. WS, message handler that intercepts all services in a transparent way. How do I create a custom media player to play custom codec in Android? Can I control the architecture of 34-bit versus 64-bit when building a PyInstaller executable intent filler to download attachment from Gmail apps and on Android, post to REST web services using API, body serialization, multiple NPM movie player controller instances, how to draw a circle after zoom in Android, custom framework targeting in Visual Studio 2010, how to handle paste event in Android 3.0, honeycomb, transparency and box plot legend says using R and ggplot2, Java Kujar and music problem question, internals of Node.js, how does it actually work? That's pretty vague. Facebook and iPad UI, web view renders as touch instead of standard web. Matplotlib, multiple connections to an event handler, computed columns of SQL CLR project in Visual Studio 2010. That's a duplicate. Content provider install failed. Conflicting provider installing content provider as separate APK. Context drawing pagination iOS 5 mapkit crashes with overlays when zoom pan. Right. I'm not quite done yet, so I'm gonna go into Audition here. Copy out the instrumental here for time. Alright, lay down another. Fuck it, let's lay down 2 more beats. I want to fade out there. They might not match here because I'm just throwing these down on the timeline now. I am not done with you, Stack Overflow, for today. Only getting started. Oh shit, you're on a muted track. Alright. I'm gonna lay down four more loops here. I'm just gonna keep on going. All right, sorry it's bad DJing. I'm just dropping things down on the timeline, letting it record here. All right, is that enough? Yeah, I guess it's long enough. All right. Wait, this isn't gonna work if I'm not drunk. I'm not even sure this next one's spelled right. Alright. Context drawing and pagination. iOS 5 map kit crashes with overlays when zoom pan. Got a stack choice from Android Market that mentions the competitor's app. Nugget. Get G-Power Tools. Enable package restore equals authentication failure behind a proxy. TJS syncing error gives me URLs undefined error under specified conditions. Exception when trying to use JPL on Yap Prolog and OS X. Problem using OpenCV 2.3.1 with Android native activity. Not receiving on-sync delete events for multiple shared objects in same Swift. Balloon hints and Delphi app tray icon keep popping up indefinitely. When probing for assemblies, why does the search for public key token differ when running as admin or as versus a normal user? JPA hibernate versus app version incorrectly incremented. Two searchable .xml activities and one Android manifest XML. Will VS doc files work for VBScript? How to 100% table height only scroll T-body. Japer is throwing up invalid cast exception when trying to set a Boolean value return from MySQL. Haskell, GHC Win32, Cairo, that's not a question. Getting could not load type errors while publishing. Davik, VM memory model, concurrent programming on Android, VM splice and TCP. Changing the default source file directory in Visual Studio. Well, that's pretty easy. LDAP. Integration with JBilling. iPhone bookmarklet. Cookie persistence. Have you seen an iController iComponent in your own code? How to publish multiple bitrate MBR video live. Yahoo OAuth login screen for mobile devices. iPod mini control disabled when certain audio session parameters are set. Xcode distributed but build not working. NAT executing NCover administrator account run as returns directly without waiting. That's weird. How to consume session dependent WCF services using KSOAP to Android. How to get Maven session or Maven execution requests from a Plexus component. CAA animation group with different interface elements. Server-side verification of Android Market licensing responses with PHP. Building .so module with AutoTools libtool without a .la or .a variants being installed. How to protect my .NET application against DLL hijacking. Page break inside a void equivalent for Firefox and IE. Efficiency of using PNGs versus BMPs with large files. Determining if a printer can handle a print job without a lookup. How to configure tooltip drop-down button size to match the size of the parent drop-down button. How to get names of background running apps. Well, there's many ways you can probably do that. Android application dies unexpectedly, leaving me clueless to the reason. SOAP UI with WCF message security. Migrate users from Google App Engine to Google OpenID. Request format is unrecognized for a URL. Unexpectedly ending in /convert happens after 1 to 2 days. What the fuck are you even talking about? Some sort of active X object is my only guess. What approach of improving incremental building with the Maven projects do you prefer? Side effects of changing filter and requirements for an existing app in Android Play Market. They use a functional language without side effects. Select object when a property equals map NH hibernate. Android, Samsung Galaxy tabs and Android 2.2 devices showing GP's date of 1 day in advance from 1st of January 2012. New ASP.NET bundling features. How I can programmatically refresh a certain bundle. How do you get credentials? Network credential of a current logged in user. Need to help understanding certificate chains. Is there a compilation of device-specific bugs for Android devices? BlackBerry browser backclick. Publisher close input channel on error occurred. Events equals 0 times 8. Well, it's a memory address. Share intent of Google Plus. Cannot access image. How to clear the cache of HTTP web requests. How to avoid Eclipse leaks on X server when editing Android XML files. How to extract the data of a C# manifest was signed. Implementing Backbone subset.js and Backbone.js. Do filter models from parent collection. What is the best way to adopt security system to deal with multiple inheritance? MVM workflow in Android. Current position in off JText area. Looking for existing JavaScript code that will run tidily, reformat SQL code with a focus on TSQL. SOAP response wrongly deserializing as null in SCXF. Simplified front-end AGS data binding. SSL failures, receiving SSL TLS exception when using HTTP web request with client certificate. Android media player, gapless or seamless video playing. Detect and handle needing to log in for Wi-Fi. jQuery Firebug public method of one plugin after changes from a second plugin. Stop using jQuery. UI image created from CGI image ref fails when UI image PNG representation. How to undo request factory update? That sounds like a JavaScript question. Shortest paths in geodesics. What is CMD/S for? What the fuck do you think it's for? Why is handling the exceptions from close handle different between .NET 4 and 3.5? Transferring table styles using OpenOffice OO Doc. What is the latest MATLAB version that is allowed to install MCR without administrator rights? How to list remote files in Android via Bluetooth. Using Bing Maps for REST services on BlackBerry, wallpaper offset for API level 3, make Clojure compiler strip log function usages, using image view, panoramic view, using Python binding, Selenium WebDriver click not working sometimes, single page web app in JavaScript framework examples, import CSV with different row widths to Incanter, I never used that word. How to pronounce that. Group multiple apps under the same application launcher. Increase model size, Twitter, Bootstrap. How do you use mock MySQL without ORM in Node.js? Center B3 Google Map on route after directions are rendered. Spring type mesh is required fields. UI picker view selected row and component returns stale data after code adjusts it. How can I get Silverlight 4 tools to work with Web Developer 2010 Express? Well, maybe you should man up and buy Visual Studio 2010 Pro. Reuse default categories, use taxonomies for browse type. Input error with Express on Galaxy S2 using jQuery mobile and PhoneGap. Audio input Android emulator. Custom translation level in Delphi GVX Firebird. Set custom for Android application. Problems loading and saving images from camera roll. What am I doing wrong? Background moving code is not working in iPhone 4S. Fluent NH Hibernate 3 unique key custom constraint name. Security error report. Viewer and RDLC reports from ASP.NET 4.0. How to modify motion tracking in AS3. Null reference exception when generating a URL and URL helper.action method. How Nike Plus GPX on iPhone works with accelerator updates in the background. 2D geometry library. LGPL alternative to GCal. Why does Hibernate MySQL connection is read-only? I can recolor Visual Studio 11. Yeah, that's still in beta. UI web view scroll to behave smoothly. L1 constraint regression in C. Validating Jenkins plugin forms with Ruby. How can I get email addresses? Current pure Python solution for Facebook OAuth. Eclipse Indigo CDT function not resolved. How to Android set drawing cache enabled work. Which theme attribute changes the text color and text edits editor message? ADFS 2.0 authentication in Ajax. API data sources linking paper use. jQuery UI date picker next to previous year. Well, those are little round buttons on either side. Precompiled Windows OMF Flash Flatpak. SCTP with multi-threading as drop-in replacement for TCP. Sizing and working with ICO files in WPF C#. Aligning menu group and menu item. How each process pinned to a specific core with scheduler Linux. How to keep focus after Alt is pressed. Adobe Air app. Writing a managed wrapper for Chromium. Using custom UI text field causes a shift slightly when accessed. Is there a fix? That's not even a sentence. BCD divide function behave differently in Delphi XE and XE2. Disabling and enabling paging and view pager in Android. What is a proper way to handle timeouts for an active record with connection pool? Complex number arithmetic in TCL. Importing SQL servers contained as a model for defined function. Adding a custom discount order and Mangito did not change sales tax. PowerShell 2.0 command line redirection. Windows Mobile, attach on call, starting and recording call. Haskell, LLVM, binding, FSI, and DSL. Sprint, MVC, REST, and AOS. How do I marshal java.util.list and JAXB and JAXRF, CXF, and Jersey do? Get an error in the IFFW library when trying to write a chunk. Class X implemented both Y and Z. One of two will still be used. Really prefer networks. Select my own network provider as soon as it's available. From code. Android draw bitmap performance for lots of bitmaps. Access control exception when trying to redeploy web app to Tomcat using NetBeans. Strange file name character encoding with Ubuntu Java Glassfish. Detecting entities in EF4 losing object graph. How to debug login server and rig Windows 7. TLD HTTP session that is expired under Delphi EXE. Web core glue Android. Is my Spring MVC content negotiating view resolver set up correctly? How can I send 404 error for unsupported media types? That wouldn't really be a 404. That's wrong MIME type. Anyway, Is there data structure for DAGs that support efficient edits? How to use FFmpeg and Liba codec and libstage fright. Okay, that's a lot of different libraries. Mobile config. File with MDM payload is invalid profile. Agile use stories for machine learning project. NPM music player controller. iPod stop sending notifications when iPod app is terminated in background. How to make selection over a large area of cells in virtual tree view. How can I make and CME show compilation errors? Could a Nova child sheet change the code behavior? NSNet service browser. Did remove service takes longer after opening stream. Query media store cursor after specific folder. How to load user CSS in WebKit WebView using PyOpc. Adding Cure clustering to algorithm in Weka. How to eliminate certain annoying messages during framework source code debugging. Android authenticating in Kerberos. Using Eclipse BERT report designer via PHP. Error querying via Microsoft.ace.oldb.12.0 provided from SQL Server. Floss that implements badging and contextual menu in Snow Leopard's Finder. Amazon Products API for Java. Using certificate and private key from Windows Cert Store with OpenSSL. Closing a Liferay pop-up window in Selenium 2 using Firefox driver. Integrating source monitor and injecting CI systems. Lift web, create a form that can be submitted both traditionally and with Ajax. Does J2ME media player on Nokia E65 work? Bing search API, narrow by date. Who uses Bing? How to Game Shark, action replay on a modern console is creating sorted collection view in WinRT. Need help with color selector for checklist view items. DFA-based regular expression engines for JavaScript with capture. How SyScript differs in programming from the Skype API. Android, how to show a notification on screen. Clustering FK means without Mahout closure. Adobe Flash iOS packager throws Java.lang out of memory error when packaging large projects. Well, your project's probably too fucking big for the compiler. iOS code designing specs. Replace item at URL fails without error in iOS, but works fine in OS X. How to keep entities on their associations associated to the current persistent context across multiple requests using Wicket and JPA. Xcode 4, idea key bindings, multiple commands for one keystroke, Mac App Store binary rejection question. MSMQ with WCF activation issue in .NET 4.0 and Server 2008. Custom formatting of LaTeX beamer frames and VIM using the GQ command. How to register a certificate to a port when a cert is in a custom location using NetSH. LLDB equivalent of GDBs at operator in Xcode 4.1. Read image files with Q image reader using KT concurrent. Oh, man. Unhandled exception in Rad Studio debugger thread. iframe scrolling on the iPhone. Okay, I'm gonna flip to the next page and wrap this fucking shit up. For Java via scale on a Mac OSS storing data in MySQL database through Java. Mail failed. What is the maximum amount of memory Adobe Air can utilize? Data dictionary generates for PostGRE SQL Confluence Wiki. JXQL solve pound value problem. Modifying how composite rolling appender renames files. Structure map, DB service registry, and MVC mini profiler. How to use crawl spider from Scrappy click on link from JavaScript on click. The user must supply a JDBC connection and a web click start logic. Android themes define colors, gradients, and base theme.xml within controls override subtheme to x.xml. This is Stackframe. I produce, write, mapping the field name beginning with an underscore entity and framework 4.1 code first. UI view H hit test with event calls and threes. Finding the cause of system access violation exception. OpenNID.UI.mode using Rails OpenNID. Authentication plugin. Ruby generators versus plugin generators. Mixing secure and unsecure channels. EC lemma, how to ignore source, Safari jittering, jumping bug on focus event on page load, concurrent C++11, which tool change can be used, synchronized time events between game, MMORPG game and client server. That's a pretty generic question, motherfucker. Why does my program crash at the return statement? Because you're an ass. Preventing mouse emulation events, i.e. click, from touch events on mobile Safari iPhone using JavaScript. How to increase space between edges, splines, and nodes using GraphViz. How to prevent Chrome fetching the last 128 bytes of an MP3 file.
Using LDAP, ADSI, Delphi for user account management, Qt physics scene multi-threading. How to draw PNG transparently on TM, Manifold Canvas, setting Excel, VBA editor, expression too complex, -1, using SQL server in 2008 for ESP.NET 2.0 membership provider. Upgrade from 2.2, you motherfucker, documenting core data entity attributes from user info entities, iOS 5 hanging on ASHH and HTTP requests. Fuck, okay. Alright, sorry about that. Silverlight layout changes when I call navigation service.navigate. How to solve conditional logging in Java. What does the console error unable to clear quarantine mean? List view dynamic add item error Mongo. Operation failure from Cucumber testing with Rails and Mongoloid GRIDFs. Grits, how do you say that? How to declare tags aliases with the Axe taggable on Rails. UI scroll view, content offset and deceleration. I can't step into stored procedure on remote SQL server in 2008. We'll stop using stored procedures. Pack an HTML5 app and deploy it on the desktop. Well, fucking wrap it and put it on the desktop. Tell them to PC and You're right. I read so much Stack Overflow that I just puked on my pee pop card. I think I'm gonna have to call it an end.